Welcome to the Pot of Inquiry, everyone, the podcast for human optimization and understanding. My guest today is Eric van der Hoeff. Eric runs a facility, some would call it a retreat or a venue for psychedelic experiences and ceremonies in Holland, in a city called Culemborg. I happened to have the pleasure of going to this retreat last summer in August and found it extraordinary. I also found Eric's experience extraordinary, and his background in psychedelics is going to give a great frame for his discussion on ayahuasca today. And I think anybody who has really been in tune with what's going on in psychedelic experiences and ceremonies has heard about ayahuasca, but they may not know the full context of it. And in this episode, you'll learn many things about the different levels of ayahuasca ceremonies and different things that take place during this experience that he describes so well. So please enjoy this great conversation that I have with Eric van der Hoeff.
Welcome to the Pot of Inquiry. Ready for some thought-provoking cerebral whipping and the destruction of ridiculous medical dogma? Want to shift those stale, moldy old paradigms? Well then, don that thinking cap of yours, get down in the cave, and join our host, Dr. Stephen Barrett, for this week's episode. Let's start spelunking.
Welcome to the Pot of Inquiry, everyone, the podcast for human optimization and understanding. I'm here with Eric van der Hoeff today from Culemborg, the Netherlands. And Eric, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen, for having me. It's an honor to be on your show.
Very cool. Well, it was an honor for me to come to your retreat last summer and experience a psilocybin journey. And I really haven't discussed that publicly, but I think that it's time to do that. I found it incredibly beneficial and would recommend it for nearly everyone. But you're going to tell us about an ayahuasca experience. And but before you do that, why don't you tell us about your facility and what you all do there? Because I think it's very interesting.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we have here a small venue for, let's say, small groups up till 8-9 persons in total, plus the facilitation team. And we are specialized in doing psychedelic journeys. So everything here, everything we do, everything we have built from the idea to have the perfect psychedelic circumstances to do this kind of things. You know, if you do a psychedelic journey, it's really very profound. It's very impressive. It's very sensitive. So therefore, we know we have a lot of experience with this kind of thing. So everything we built is with soft materials, not very strong colors, very calm and quiet. And of course, yeah, we are in the rural center of let's say the province of Utrecht. It's nature. We have a decor of fruit trees here, which is also belonging to my past. And yeah, we do our own psychedelic program, and we do every month a psychedelic retreat of 3 or 4 or 5 days. We do sometimes a sort of entrance level of psychedelics. And mainly it's psilocybin journeys, what we do. To learn people to make the step, because a lot of people are afraid to do a psychedelic journey. Mm-hmm. It's also a big step to go into the deep. So we have a sort of middle dosage, which we use sometimes as a day program to help the people get a little bit the feeling with psychedelics before they go into a deep dive, really the high dosage. And with this, we do our own program, but we also work together with a group of other people doing psychedelic journeys, facilitating this kind of things. Mm-hmm. Hans and Janine, right. They work at our venue. We have other groups working here. Let's say we work together with 7-8 companies who do their psychedelic journeys in our venue, our venue. And for us, it's very important that the people who work here, that we learn from them, they learn from us, but also that they are professional. There are a lot of people offering psychedelic journeys in Holland, especially nowadays, because it's become really popular, not always on a good way, but let's say But for safety reasons, for me, it's very important that you have enough experience, especially if you're working with groups. Because working with individuals, one-on-one coaching, or let's say the official word therapy is not allowed in Holland for this kind of things. But let's say if people really need a very long guidance, one-on-one is easier, then this is something you can contain. But a group you need really a lot of experience.
Well, let me ask you that. So it's not legal in Holland to have just one-on-one. It always has to be a group, or did I misunderstand that?
No, you have two different kind of things. You have group ceremonies where you work with, let's say, 4 to 8 people or bigger, but our venue is limited to 8 participants or 9 participants. But some people come with special issues and they don't like to be in a group. And then you treat them one-on-one. Then it's a sort of, therapy or coaching, but specialized only and focusing on his problems or her problems. So there's a little bit the difference, one-on-one guidance or group guidance.
Right. Well, with the group dynamic, sometimes do you find that the group feeds off of each other and it can be a more inclusive or expansive experience than just a one-on-one? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Now, the first thing is how the people like to be guided, because sometimes they are so afraid to go into public that they don't like to be in a group. But to be honest, I think in most cases it's very helping each other in a group has more power than on one-on-one. But sometimes the people are too afraid, and first they have to go to take the first step to do a one-on-one session before they go into a group. But the group sessions, they are really very powerful, because the people learn from each other. You learn from other people also not to feel alone. Everybody has his issues. Everybody has his thoughts. You learn more, and you mostly the result is one-on-one of a 1 + 1 is 3 in a group.
Okay. Right. Now, this is a little tangential, but I have to ask because I've never figured out how you came up with the name The Matter for your facility. So tell me about that.
That's a good one. It means what really matters. Because if you do a psychedelic journey, you forget all the stuff which influences your life at the side, and you get to focus on what really matters to you, what is really important for you.
Right.
And that's a little bit the idea from what that's why we choose the name The Matter. It's about what matters to you.
Yeah. Well, I remember you had a really cool station wagon there, probably 50 years old. And
it was a gift.
Yeah.
We had a client which was a client who was really so impressed by this psychedelic journey, and at a certain moment we came into a conversation about her old car, and she said, "I want to give it to you," and we said, "No, that's too big, It's 50 years old. It's 56 years old. It's an old Volvo." And now we use it as a company car to pick up people from the train station and that kind of things.
That's very cool. So we're going to talk a little bit about something not psilocybin, and that's ayahuasca. So what was the motivation for you to want to look into ayahuasca after all of your experience with the other agents?
Yes. Now, I've done a lot of journeys in my life. I started about 7 years ago with the first psilocybin, which was a combination between ayahuasca and psilocybin. We call it psilohuasca. It's you drink capi, the Banisteriopsis capi, the MAO inhibitor, which is one compound of the ayahuasca, and you take the psilocybin and you drink them together. So that has a profound effect, and you have a little bit of both ways. You have the psilocybin and you have this ayahuasca compound. And I was always impressed by this combination. We use it a lot. When we do a deep dive, mostly with people who have no medication or no because that's always interfering. If somebody takes medication and you want to do a MAO inhibitor, it's always dangerous. So then we do only psilocybin, but we use a lot of this combination, psilohuasca we call it. And I did, let's say the first 12 journeys with ayahuasca I did in Holland with a guy who has really a lot of experience. He started about 25 years ago and does that every week. It's forbidden in Holland, so that's a legal issue. What's the problem? But I also go to Lithuania, where there's a shaman. He doesn't call himself a shaman, but I think he has all the right to use the name shaman because he has so much experience with ayahuasca, and he was in India for a long time. Always went to the jungle in Peru, Brazil. He's really very specialized, and every 2 years I like to go there to do a retreat on his place with ayahuasca. And ayahuasca is a very strong medicine. It's a medicine where a lot of tradition is behind. And I have a little bit more the experience to work with the shamanic tools, the rituals which they use in these old traditions. I like them. I don't say it's always extremely important, and I don't overreact on that kind of things, but I like these rituals because you're doing something very special if you take a psychedelic journey.
Right.
I do this together with Marieke, and Marieke is my partner, and Marieke is more a coach, which is not so shamanic. So we use a little bit of combination between some shamanic tools and some clinical tools, actually, to keep it a little bit straightforward, to keep it simple, and because also a lot of people are a little bit afraid of these shamanic things. But I go every 2 years for myself to really go inside. I do this ayahuasca, and they are 3 journeys behind each other. This guy, this shaman, he organizes this master plant dietas, because that's what I did in Peru. I went to a master plant dieta.
What is it?
A master plant dieta. Okay, the master plant is a plant. I will explain you later.
Okay.
Dieta, you know what a diet is? Huh?
Oh, diet. Okay.
A diet. In Peru, it's called dieta. A master plant dieta. And that's
so for us dumb Americans, it's a plant diet.
Yes.
Okay.
But on the other hand, this is also the university to become shaman. So if you want to really go into these shamanic tools, this is the way you have to practice to become a doctor.
Okay.
And a doctor is called a shaman in Peru. And there they use ayahuasca, and I was always a little bit against this kind of things because it's a thing. We did in 19 days. We did 11 ceremonies with ayahuasca, and these are ceremonies of 6 till 7, 8 hours. This is in darkness, in the jungle, without guidance as we know it, because this is really a very strong medicine. And you have to take it. You have to sit upright. You have to be active during the ayahuasca, which is quite difficult because ayahuasca, like psilocybin, it goes into your head. You go into Mariada, you really go into this sphere, but you have to keep sitting because you have to learn. Let's say a shaman, he always, if he guides a ceremony, he takes full medicine. Yeah? So he's not sober. He's not like in Europe, most people don't drink the medicine because they stay sober. But the shaman, he drinks full cup. That's really a lot. And he teaches you to be stable in this situation that you can help the people. So that's the training what you're doing. But it's really very intensive, you know. This 11 ceremonies in 19 days, that's really. And the first 5 days you don't eat. So you start with 5 days of fasting.
Wow.
Only you drink water.
Okay.
And after these 5 days, you start eating only one meal a day with some white rice, some lentils, and 2 eggs. And every other day you get one fish. So what happens to you is that you, at the end, you're almost containing ayahuasca, because that's the basic thing you eat and drink the whole period. And yeah, that's okay, you have no sugar, no salt, no communication. There is no GPS signal. You cannot watch your telephone. It's really solitary to be very influential for all the things you get around. If you, let's say after 10, 11 days, you only need, if you want to brush your teeth, and you take a little bit of this toothpaste, and you do that, you almost have to throw up. It's so heavy because you are not used to any taste at that moment.
Mm,
All your senses are at the level of 150%. You know,
okay.
it's your hearing, your seeing, your sight, your taste. It's enormous. Yeah.
Before we continue with this great discussion, I just want to take a quick break to acknowledge this week's sponsor. I'm constantly exploring new avenues to enhance well-being and address any health concerns. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to an exciting supplement called Stem Regen, which I take daily and genuinely believe could revolutionize your health journey as well. Stem Regen stands out as a game changer in the realm of wellness. Crafted from 5 potent plant extracts, it boasts a remarkable ability to stimulate the release of your body's own stem cells from your red bone marrow. Why is this significant? Well, stem cells are the superheroes of our body's natural repair system. They possess the extraordinary capacity to morph into various cell types, aiding in tissue regeneration and repair. As we age, the quantity of circulating stem cells in our system reduces significantly, impairing our body's ability to heal and rejuvenate itself effectively. Stem Regen steps in to counter this decline by kickstarting the release of stem cells into circulation, thereby bolstering your body's innate repair mechanisms. Once unleashed into your bloodstream, these mobilized stem cells actively seek out areas of damage or injury, initiating the healing process. By incorporating Stem Regen into your daily routine, you're essentially empowering your body to tap into its own regenerative prowess more efficiently. I firmly believe that Stem Regen could be a valuable addition to your wellness regimen, especially if you're seeking to fortify overall health and vitality, accelerate tissue repair, or expedite recovery from injury or illness. This first of its kind stem cell mobilizer is changing the game in regenerative medicine. Don't wait to unleash your body's innate healing capabilities. Visit stemregen.co/Dr. Steven, that's with a PH, and use the code SBPOD to get a 15% discount off your first order of Stem Regen. Hey Spelunkers, we're thrilled to kick off Season 6 with a fresh new look and the most exciting content we've ever delivered. This season, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of human optimization and understanding. But wait, there's more. We're giving back to our loyal listeners with an exclusive giveaway each and every episode of Season 6. That's right, prizes are waiting just for you. So how can you join in on this fun? Well, it's simple. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and here's the magic touch. Comment, "Let's Spelunk" on any of our Season 6 YouTube videos to enter. Of course, please add anything else you'd like to your review. Don't miss your chance to explore, learn, and win with the Pot of Inquiry. Let's spelunk into the wonders of Season 6 together. So let me ask you this. First, there's a lot of folks that don't really know what ayahuasca is. Can you tell everybody what it is? And this is an ancient formulation. It's been around for what, 2,000-3,000 years?
Yeah, they
or
say
longer?
nobody knows it, but let's say it's 3,000 years. Yes.
Yeah.
After the Incas went away, the Shipibos came, and one of the tribes there, they found out that if you mix two plants together, one is the Banisteriopsis capi, that's the vine of the ayahuasca. That's
Mm-hmm.
how they called ayahuasca. It's the
And that's where
vine.
the MAO inhibitors come from, that one? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And the other one is chacruna, and chacruna contains DMT.
Okay.
That's where the visuals come from.
Okay.
And if you mix this together and you boil them for 8 hours and you have a whole process how to do it, then you get ayahuasca.
But Eric, isn't there something special about this? Because from a pharmacological standpoint, DMT is not, I mean, you have to smoke it or to get it in. It doesn't pass through the gut membrane. But the way these guys came up with it by putting the two together, they kind of changed the pharmacodynamics and bioavailability of the drugs.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how anybody found out
Right.
to mix from 80,000 species in the Amazon forest to find that you have to boil this and you have to use those both. It's almost a chance from 0 on 100 million or something to find out this mixture. So it's a miracle.
Yeah. I mean, it shows that they had a high level of sophistication back then, far more than what we perceive as a primitive tribe or something like
Yeah.
that. You know.
Yeah.
So let me ask you the next question that came to mind in your description, because, well, I have many. I mean, because it's fascinating to hear, somebody tell an experience like this with the background and experience that you have, right? So it's kind of like the storyteller, in this case, you being the storyteller, has an incredible background, whereas somebody like me couldn't tell this story at all because I don't have enough of a background in it to kind of really make sense of it all. But I guess the one question that I had was, so these ceremonies that they have, in order for them to have tremendous meaning, did you have to do pre-work to understand what these songs and what these uh, other types of ceremonies mean? Because I mean, if somebody just starts singing you a song in a language that you have no idea, you might say, well, that's cool. It's got a nice melody or a nice sound to it, but I don't really understand what they're trying to say.
Yes, like I said, this is the University of the Shamans, and they also teach you. So most of the time you're in solitary. Yeah, you have your own small
Okay.
cabin where you live.
Right.
But in the every other day at 3 o'clock you come together with a group. We were with 11 or 12 people, and then they teach you Shipibo language. And the Shipibos is this tribe where I was, who
Okay.
has the most experience with ayahuasca, like you say, 3,000 years they have experience with it, and they teach you the songs, the Icaros, because they
Okay.
sing Icaros. These are holy songs to open a ceremony, to invite the spirits to protect you, to heal you. They have special songs to heal people and to sing on a certain frequency. No?
Okay.
So that's the thing they learn you. At the end, you speak a little bit Shipibos.
Okay.
And we have, let's say, 21 basic Icaros, which they always use. And I know at this moment, I know 4 of them. I can use also 4 of them. They teach you, you have to practice, you
Okay.
have to sing, which is quite
Okay.
interesting because a lot of people, I was one of the only 3 of them who did the first Dieta. The most of them already did 4, 5, 6 Dietas. They were very experienced. They were half shaman, and they
Okay.
are used to singing and music and that kind of things. But I'm normally not singing, I'm not using my voice. But the shaman, the maestro, he says the spirits like to be sung to. So
Okay.
you have to use your voice during the ceremony to invite the spirits, to invite your own spirit to this frequency where he wants you to be. And yeah, that's quite difficult, because you're going into Mariana, you go into a very high state of consciousness and where everything turns around, where all the visuals are, and And at that moment, you have to sing an Icaro because the Maestro points you out from, he doesn't point you out because you don't see anything. Every ceremony is in full darkness. And that's really dark, you know. That's I only saw one time the moon, but the other ceremonies I didn't see at all one thing. And in total darkness, and in the beginning, it's in silence. So the first hour is in silence. You take the medicine, you take the ayahuasca, you go to your place, you sit, and at a certain moment, at let's say 40, 50, 60 minutes, the shaman feels that the medicine works, and we feel it also. And then he starts singing. And then he starts singing to open the space, to open the ceremony, to invite the spirits, make you alignment. So it's very important if you do this work, you have to be aligned. You have to really not go into all the directions, because then you cannot focus on the people where you want to work with, your
Right.
participants.
Right.
So we were half participants. We were participants from his ceremony, but on the other hand, he was teaching you to be in that state, to sing Icaros for other participants. And that was quite.
So the immersion in total darkness in and of itself, after a period of time, I don't know how long, but that can start having some psychedelic effects without any agent. Isn't that correct?
So that's why they do it. That's
Okay.
also why you don't eat. That's why you don't get sugar. That's why you don't can be distracted by your telephone.
Right.
Everything has to be directed into full consciousness from what the medicine is doing with you. Yeah.
Right.
And you said if I would do this, it would be different as I'm doing it, because I have a lot of experience with psychedelic journeys. But that was also the reason why I was a little bit against this kind of things, because I know they exist, these dietas, but I saw people returning from it and didn't land at all. You know, they were mentally not present anymore here on this universe, in this reality. And I said, no, this is much too strong. You cannot do this. This is not healthy for people.
Right.
But after my last ceremony in Lithuania, where I was doing ayahuasca, I felt that mentally I was strong enough to do this, and I felt the urge to go. I don't know, this kind of things I cannot explain, but at a certain moment, you feel, I want to make this step. I want to really see what this kind of things are doing to me. And then I asked this shaman, I said, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. And then he said, okay, you're welcome. But all the people there are quite experienced, you know, they have all, let's say, at least 25, but most of them will have 50 plus deep dives with psilocybin or ayahuasca.
So this is not the beginner's camp.
No, no, because you will return mad. Yeah, if you do that.
Yeah. So the experience with the ayahuasca in Lithuania, I mean, that wasn't a 19-day experience, was it?
No. These are the normal things. There we go Thursday morning and we return at Monday morning. So we have 3 ceremonies of ayahuasca. And that's
so. I mean, obviously, I would think that there would be a vast difference between the two modalities, even though they're using the same agent, but the context is so different. Let's go to the Lithuania venue for a second. Now, you said in 3 or 4 days, 3 or 4 ceremonies?
3. No,
Okay,
3.
3. And is it the same that you want to, establish the set and the setting and make sure that you have the integration afterwards? And is that standard with that as well? Or is it different?
No, that's the integration process, and so they don't care too much. They see the ayahuasca there as the medicine. You do your job, you can handle it yourself. And of course, if you need help afterwards, you can call them, but it's not like they take you by the hand from the beginning until the end. This is a retreat center where you work with, let's say, sometimes with 8 people, but sometimes also with 20 people. And this shaman is a very powerful shaman. he is a very strong masculine guy who plays guitar, is a very good singer, so he can also use his voice during the ceremonies to really get you into a certain place if needed. And he has a lot of experience, but it's not somebody who takes you by the hand like we are used to do with our participants, and has also a lot of integration. They tell you afterwards how to integrate, how to work, but it's not that you get the 2 or 3 or 4 integration calls afterwards. No.
So ayahuasca, one of the things that I've heard talked about it is that you're going to vomit. You're going to have a lot of GI rebellion. Is that true?
Yeah. Most people have to purge. They call it purging.
Yeah.
And after a while, if you're used to this kind of things, you don't purge anymore. I'm used that I don't purge from ayahuasca. The first times I did, but afterwards I take it and I can handle this mariada and I don't purge. But the thing you get in Peru with this shaman, with this maestro, that's a different level. This is ayahuasca, which is really very strong. It's very bitter. It's you take it and it goes into your stomach and you keep it like this. And okay, and at a certain moment you will throw up. Let's say I threw up, let's say in 80% of the ceremonies, and I'm not used to that. Okay. And that's the purification, as they call it, because I see ayahuasca or psilocybin. You have this part where you do this inner healing, this inner work,
right?
Which really is a very strong tool of all these psychedelics. I see it as the strongest tool. And the second thing is purification. And during this 21-day master plan Dieta, we did a lot of purification. And one is throw up during the ceremonies.
Right.
Yeah? The other ones is, so let's say we start at 7:30 in the evening with the ceremony. It's total dark then. Mm-hmm. You continue until 2 o'clock in the night or 3 o'clock in the night. And at 7:30, the maestro wakes you up and say, okay, come on, we have to go. And then we go to make a vomitivo. And a vomitivo means that you get a sort of tea, a special tea. You have to drink it. And then it has to stay three minutes in your stomach. And then you have to drink a lot of lemongrass tea, but really a lot. So you get 2, 3, 4 liters of lemongrass tea, because you have to throw up. You have to get it out of your stomach, this first thing which you took,
Okay.
And that's really hard, I'm not used to throwing up on purpose. And the other guys and women, they were very used, because in Peru, they do it every Saturday, every Saturday the children have to go out, have to drink something and throw up to purify. It's a sort of habit, a sort of healthy process, which the Peruvian people are used to, the shamanic people. But we had to do it after a ceremony. So you threw up during the ceremony,
right?
And you throw up, you purge also the next morning.
Wow.
So, and sometimes they do it in your nose. So they have a sort of cleaning of your nose. Then they throw thing, and then you have to say like this, and then everything goes into your sinuses here, and it burns like wasabi. This.
Wow.
Or it's very strong, but after 2 hours you get the idea, because then everything feels great. Then you feel really everything is purified.
Wow.
But you get a lot of this kind of things, to really purify your body. No sugar, no salt, only healthy teas. They also use a sort of tea which they make out of plants from the jungle. And you have to drink them 1 or 2 liters a day. So it's not only ayahuasca,
right?
So that's a little bit. Then you ask about the purging. What is really interesting from the purging? Because normally I don't purge. during ayahuasca. But the singing of the maestro sings on a certain level. He sings like dum ba dum ba dum ba dum bum ba dum 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 dum, and that keeps on going. It's hours and hours, and it really gets into your body at a certain moment. It's the vibration which goes into your body. But his mother, and he says, I always do ceremonies with my mother or with another woman who can arrange a higher frequency. So if she starts singing, it's like at that moment you have to throw up, because the frequency is so high. You have to go.
Okay.
It's amazing how this works, and because you feel everybody. Then if the shaman stops singing, then his mother is going to sing. Then it's really buckle up.
Okay. Wow. So what I'm getting from your description is that this is not for lightweights at all.
Nope.
Yeah. So on the entrance into this, did you have certain goals or things that you wanted to accomplish? And then, people talk about the disillusion of the ego. Is that one of the big components of the ayahuasca ceremonies, or not?
It can happen. Okay. You can go to Peru for all kind of levels. This is perhaps one of the most deepest level if you want to become shaman. But you can also go for 1 or 2 days ceremonies. It's not, you don't have to go so deep as this. What's my purpose?
And now a message from our sponsor. Well, folks, if you are over 40 and you are not using a supplement to augment nitric oxide production, you should really rethink that. This molecule is absolutely imperative to the health of so many bodily functions, not the least of which is cardioprotection. If you have any question on nitric oxide, I suggest that you register with Approved Medical Solutions and begin receiving their educational emails. I never miss a day of nitric oxide supplementation. That's how important it is. Long overdue, Approved Medical Solutions created the only nitric oxide replenishment formula without oxalates. Approved Medical Solutions does not use beet, spinach, or arginine. Approved Medical Solutions is proud to offer our audience their oxalate-free nitric oxide formula. If you are not a healthcare provider, you can still get started by going to approvedmedicalsolutions.com and use the code SBarrett at checkout, and you'll receive a 10% medical discount savings. You can register to receive educational emails without any purchase. For licensed practitioners, you too can go to approvedmedicalsolutions.com and get registered today. They have unique bundles for all of the full-fledged spelunkers of the Plot of Inquiry. Use Pot of Inquiry at checkout after registration. Here's a little secret. If you order their testing strips and test every patient for a few clinic days, you will see every one of them be deficient. When they see this result, they will want you to start them up immediately. Now, thanks to Approved Medical Solutions, you can give them the best care without the worry of oxalates.
When I go into myself with psilocybin, I get into a state which is at different levels. I get into a sort of very clear state where I always call it the wise one in me. This archetype is really very profound. Then at that moment, I'm feeling that I'm really very intelligent for myself to see what's happening with me and to get my messages. You can go into a divine state where you go into the void, into the emptiness, where everything is really very good. Everything feels perfect. Everything feels one. These are the levels which are very easy to reach, but there's always also some level between, and there you get this geometric patterns. There you get this lights and all those the snakes and all those strange things would happen. And I'm very used to that state, but I always say, it's nice, but what can I do with it? It's I don't get it. What it brings for me. And people who go into a psychedelic journey, they always like to go there because it's so impressive. Yeah, okay. But
Right.
on the other hand, it has to bring something for you in daily life. And I wanted to know from the people who have the most experience with psychedelics, because the big difference between ayahuasca and psilocybin, I don't see it. You go into the same states, yeah, the same levels, but on a different way. Yeah, it's like the purging is something for ayahuasca, not for psilocybin.
Right.
But I wanted to know if this geometric patterns, this feeling of entities surrounding you, feeling that other things are speaking to you. I wanted to know if it's really possible to get in contact with such entities, and not that it's coming from your own DNA. You're telling yourself a story.
Right.
Huh? I see people also in our venue. I see them channeling. I see speaking them light language, which is really strange. If you see somebody speaking light language,
What is light language?
yeah, that's a certain language we don't understand. But if some people are really having a contact with light beings, and they start speaking a language which you really don't understand, and this language is not, because I know people, I know how they speak. At a certain moment, they start speaking a language which is not theirs. That's so I always get a little bit goose. How do you call it? Goose
Goosebumps? Goosebumps? Yeah.
if somebody starts, because at that moment something happening, then
Right.
there's something in the room which is not the humans,
Right.
and I always was very impressed by this kind of thing, but I didn't understand it. So I wanted to know if it was possible to really get in contact with a higher entity, or if this was all, let's say, bullshit,
Right.
and it's coming from yourself.
Right.
That I'm a guy who is quite grounded. After
Right.
everything I see, I still feel that I'm grounded, and I know
By grounded, would you say skeptical a little bit?
skeptical, yes, but
Yeah.
also always being with both feet on the ground.
Okay. Right.
Not floating with all the things which are around, and people who only look at the stars and the moon, and I stay a little bit grounded.
Gotcha.
So I want to know if it's possible for me to get in contact with another entity.
Right.
So that was my purpose, actually, and to know how they use ayahuasca for healing, and if it really is true that they can heal people, that they are doctoral, not that they are false prophets or something like that.
So
That's
were you able to contact these other entities?
Yeah, so and that's why the master plant comes in. I said this is a master plant, Dieta.
Yeah.
They the shamans, they see all the species in the jungle as plants, where some plants have certain characteristics. They are powerful. Ayahuasca is one of them. It's only one of them. One of the biggest one is tobacco. Tobacco is the most holy plant there. But for instance, I had so for every participant of this master plant dieta, the shaman chooses a plant to make contact with the spirit of this plant.
Okay.
And for me, it was the Huaco, which is the biggest tree in the rainforest. It can be over more than 1,000 years old. It's an enormous tree. And the first 5 days, if you don't eat at that moment, the only thing you drink is you get a small cup of an extract of the bark and roots of this tree.
Okay.
And the whole journey, so the 21 days dieta, you have to focus on this tree. And
Right.
also, if you take the cup with ayahuasca, first you have to say thanks to the ayahuasca. But the second thing is make contact with your master plant and ask him the things you want to know. Yeah? And you have to specify what you want to know. And the interesting thing is, and I think you know enough about psychedelics, that the most people think that during the ceremony, you will get the insights. During the ceremony with psilocybin or with ayahuasca, you get visions, and afterwards you know, okay, now I have to change this or I have to do this in the integration period.
Right.
But the shamans, they work differently. They say during the ceremony, you open the doors to the spirits, and they are going to instruct you what to do with the participants. And how do they do it? They don't speak with you. They don't speak English. They don't speak German. They don't speak Dutch. They also know Shipibos. They speak in visuals, but during your dreams. So the messages from what you get is in your dreams and not during the ceremony. During the ceremony, things happen. This is your inner wisdom which is speaking or is working. But you go back to your tambo, that's the place where you sleep, your own cabin. And there you go to sleep. And during this sleep, you get dreams. And you know, Stefan, I don't dream normally, or I cannot remember. My whole life,
Right.
I don't dream, I cannot remember. But during this dieta, that was not normal. I waked up in the night totally in sweat, vibrating from the dreams I got, and these were strange dreams. It's you cannot imagine also what it means actually, and that's when the shamans come in afterwards. So the next day, you're going to tell your dreams to the shamans, and they're going to explain what it means. There are the messages, what you have to do, or what you are going to do in the Dieta. What's the level at that certain moment? So yes, I got. This is the first time in my life that I really felt that I had a sort of connection with an entity. And
Now, would some people call that entity God?
I think God is everything. That's also how you
Right.
see God. I see God as something inside of everybody of us. And I in the past I did a lot of study on religions, but I didn't find the real answers there. But every time I go into this state, I feel that we are one. I feel that we are all a piece of what we call God or the source or whatever.
Right.
And but there are different. You have in this source there are different energies, and these energies normally I don't I feel them, but I cannot get in touch with them. And at this Dieta, I really felt that I made contact, which was impressive for me.
So what I'm kind of interpreting from this story, based on the predicate stories that you had in Lithuania, that this experience just was kind of like another level that you hadn't really experienced before, albeit the ones before were probably pretty powerful, but this was something that was just like way up and above. Is that a correct interpretation from what you're saying?
Perfect interpretation. I think that the most ceremonies, if it's with psilocybin or it's with ayahuasca, are you're getting in touch with yourself. You get in touch with your intuition, with your subconscious mind, and it's so powerful to do that. You can find you're your own doctor at that moment. I think that's the most powerful thing about psychedelics. What the shamans do, and that's also the work I did in Lithuania, or the work what I did here in Holland when I did a lot of these psilocybin journeys.
Right.
But a shaman, they work a little bit different. They work also on this thing. You take ayahuasca to really do your own work. Then you have this purifying thing, this purging, and all those medicines you take. And then you have the third is the connection with the spirit to tell you what to do. Because in the past, a shaman was the one who took the ayahuasca, and the patient or the participant, he didn't take anything. So the shaman took the ayahuasca, felt the energy of the participants, get in touch with his master plant or with his entities to ask, what should I do with this guy or with this woman? Then he went. Then the patient was sent away. he's going to sleep, and in his sleep, he gets the message, and the next day he tells the patient what to do. It's
Interesting.
his experience, but also the knowledge of the other entities, which is for us is almost strange, and we cannot get this kind of things.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to see how they do this. And yeah, I'm surprised. I'm not. I don't think that I can do that. You know, it's also not my purpose to be a shaman, but to see how they do this, and also how they balance the energy during the ceremonies with this Icaros. You know, it's
That's
really
interesting.
it's really unbelievable how they do it. You know, there's so much powers were into the room in this Maloka, this place where they do the ceremonies, and with this singing, you know, he keeps everything in balance. And yeah, I was very impressed by how somebody like this maestro was doing. No.
So for somebody like you to be impressed after all of your experience, that means a heck of a lot right there, because I mean, I'm impressed just hearing about it, but for somebody with your experience and expertise, and it's like, wow. So I got one last question for you before we wrap up.
Hmm.
If someone has never had any psychedelic experiences, would you recommend them not to try ayahuasca first, that they should really maybe begin with something like psilocybin? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, in general, I would say yes, because psilocybin is a little bit easier for the body. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very gentle psychedelic. You don't have to purge, you don't have to throw up.
Right.
You're not getting, you're also not distracted because you have to purge.
Right.
Because so yes,
Well,
it's a
well,
little bit more gentle.
the other thing too is it's like it's not easy for the average person to go and have a 5-day water fast. I mean, that in and of itself is a big ask for a lot of people. I mean, I don't know that I could do that. I mean, I've fasted for a couple of days, but that's a pretty big ask. And then, you compound that with all of the other things that you're doing contextually. It's a big deal. I mean, that is not like something that you just enter into lightly.
Yeah, but this fasting has to do with this master plant dieta. Like if you go
Right.
to Peru or you go to a normal ayahuasca ceremony, you don't have to fast. The only thing you have
Okay.
restrictions, you have strong restrictions
Right.
on the diet just before, because you cannot eat, like say, raw fish, or you cannot eat um, like ripe avocados or ripe bananas. And
Mm.
they are a little bit tricky with this MAO inhibitor,
Right.
but you don't have to fast.
Yeah. Okay.
But fasting is a really big thing about how they heal people. So
Right.
if you ask a shaman, how do you work with people who are ill, mentally ill or physically ill? They mostly start with dieta with fasting, and up
Mm.
till 21 days,
Right. Right.
which is quite
Man.
heavily.
Well, tell everyone how they can find you and your retreat and everything that you do in Holland. And
Yeah, I see on my screen there's Marike de Mette. That's my partner, my name. But yeah, it's called Demeter.nl. You can find us
okay,
on the website. Um, you can always contact us, but the access is the most easy by the website.
very good. Eric,
And I will
thanks.
share it.
Eric, thanks so much for your wonderful insight and sharing that experience with us. And look forward to hopefully crossing paths with you again in the future, because I love your place, and it's really a special venue.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I was honored to be on your show, and yeah, I wish we could meet in person once again.
We will do that.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye bye, Stephen.
As you know, I'm passionate about learning new ways to address health concerns. Moreover, before I recommend any treatment or supplement, I always try it on myself. Today, I want to share my experience with troche, I have investigated other phytocannabinoid formulas and found that, in general, they were not consistent or reliable in their results. What impressed me about the troche delivery technology is that each rapid release tab is engineered to provide fast-acting, long-lasting, reliable delivery of phytocannabinoids to support your health and well-being. Many physicians understand the importance of using phytocannabinoids for physical discomfort, sleep issues, and mood. But if the formula is not reliable, most patients will give up, never experiencing the real benefits. I put this to the test on myself and actually tracked my progress. This graph shows my results for reducing stress. Troche is so serious about how well their product works, they partnered with People Science to provide the Troche Tracker health assessment application that lets you monitor your progress and works with you to accomplish your wellness goals. If you are a patient, click the link below and the patient button to register for Troche Tracker. Assess your baseline health metrics and receive a free Troche sample in addition to getting preferred patient pricing on all products. If you are a clinician interested in adding Troche to your practice, click the link below and then the clinician button to register for a wholesale affiliate account or go to the link above. I hope you all enjoyed today's show and got some truly empowering knowledge out of it. You can always follow up on anything we talked about in the show notes found at our website, podofinquiry.com. If you think you might have tickled just a few neurons inside that cerebral cortex, please spread the word to your friends and colleagues and tell them that they need to get spelunking. Also, if you can take a minute to leave a review on your podcast provider of choice, and especially Apple Podcasts, that would greatly help the show and be so appreciated, provided it's positive. And if not, then just keep your pie hole shut and stay down in that cave. Let's keep spelunking.
This podcast is designed for informational purposes only and does not constitute any medical or surgical consulting advice or imply a development of any physician-patient relationship. The opinions of guests who are featured on the show are not necessarily the opinions of Dr. Barrett or the production team. This podcast is owned solely by Barrett Medical and Surgical Media, LLC. While the show is highly oriented for physicians and healthcare providers, anyone interested in the improvement of human performance and understanding will find us a welcome goblet to sip from, or guzzle. However, no representation or warranties are made in any way whatsoever on this podcast for any products, techniques, or other things discussed. Invited guests are not vetted by the Pod of Inquiry for their qualifications and may have a direct or indirect financial interest in what they present and discuss on the show. The Pod of Inquiry disclaims any responsibility from anything taken from the show and used personally or professionally. It is a responsibility of the listener to perform their own due diligence prior to the implementation of any ideas, products, techniques, or anything talked about on the show.